All right, so I'm going to hand over to Sharon. Should I give this to Sharon? Maybe I will do. Now, I met Sharon, I don't even know when. August? Yes. So I met Sharon in August, and I've published a few books. I'm giving away what you do now. But Sharon's actually helping me in the next stage of my life so we can reach a few more million people. And she's inspired me a lot. Okay?
Yeah. Where do I put this? Here. Yep.
Brilliant.
Sorry about this.
Thank you.
Perfect. Hi guys. So excited to be able to talk to you all today. I'm going to give you kind of outline of my journey rather than what I really do. I want to talk about why I do what I do and why I started to do what I do, and it may well trigger something in your minds that you can think of a different pathway towards earning some money, because at the end of the day we just all need to have some money. I set up the Hawthorne Collective a year ago, April, a year and 1 month ago. And I did it because I really didn't have a clue what I needed to do. My marriage ended. I'd spent 8 years at home with my kids. I was virtually unemployable. And I needed to do something so I could still look after my children. I had to be there for them. I'd been there for them for 8 years. I'd gone to every single parade and sports day and play date and everything else. I personally didn't want to miss it, and I know that they didn't want to miss it either. So I took everything I had done throughout my entire life. Now, when was it? 1992, I got my first job in publishing, and I was working for a local newspaper. And I fell in love with words, with publishing, with production, with producing something that came out every single week. And then I got into magazines, and then I got into books and editing and writing. And I just sat there one morning and thought, what can I do? This is what I do. Maybe I can do this for other people as well. So that is the Hawthorne Collective. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. It may not. It does. So my main goal, really and truly, is to just help writers create beautiful books. I work with writers who put together non-fiction and fiction that goes to the point of always having that book to refer back to. So it's not just a great story that you read and you put back on the shelf and forget about. It's something that you'll come back to all the time. So it's really important to me that every single book we put out there is beautiful and a great keepsake. So that's where I was coming from when I set up the Hawthorne Collective. So what I want to talk about more today is what I actually do, why I do what I do, and what I've learned in the last year. And what I've learned you're not going to find in a textbook, because everything someone tells you at the beginning of your journey always comes with a caveat, and it's those caveats that meant the most to me. And then I want to talk a little bit about writing as a craft, writing as a work of art. And we don't always look at writing that way. We look at art pieces, we look at music, musicians, but we never look at writers in that way. So I want to talk a bit about that too. So I'm really in the business of writing. I write, I help other people write. And I do that by providing these services. First of all, there's a writing school. So a lot of people will come to me and say, I have a really great idea and I just do not know where to start. In fact, I had that conversation about an hour ago. So what we do is we coach, mentor, and help people through the initial stages of planning and strategizing and finding out what they really want to write, who they want to write it for, and how they can present that. And then coach and support through the writing process. Then we get to the editing phase. The editing phase is very, very important, and it's also for writers extremely confronting, because you are handing over your baby to me, and I can be quite critical in a nice way, obviously, but you know, if you want to produce something that's really great, you've got to look at it very objectively. So there's 4 kinds of editing. You have first of all, you have your structural and your developmental edit. And that makes sure that everything's in the right place. It's like a huge game of Tetris. So you're moving your paragraphs here, there, and everywhere just to make sure you have your flow. Then you have a line edit. And that's very, very mechanical. That's taking every single sentence that you write, and that is making sure it makes sense. It's supposed to be where it is. It has a purpose. It's a complete sentence, and it works. It may mean that it's repetitive, so you take it out, or it should be going somewhere else. It's a very, very objective way to look at your manuscript. Once you've done that, you're almost there, and you have a light copy edit just to make sure your grammar's okay, and then you'll have a proofread. And what you have then is a very polished, finished manuscript to work with. That then goes into production. You start working with designers for your book cover. You'll work with formatters for the interior. You'll work with printers, online ebook producers, like Amazon, for example. You can do that free of charge. It's perfect. And then you have your finished book. Then you need to get it out into the marketplace. And you need people to know where you are, how they can find you, how they can find your book. So we offer marketing services and distribution services so you can sell. So we take the whole process, right from idea all the way through to production and finished product. This is a draft copy of a book that we'll publish next month, hopefully. It was supposed to be this month, but there's always something. So a woman in Bribie Island has written about her experience within the Queensland court system. It took 7 years, so that's why it's called 7 Orbits of the Sun. So we've got the title, the author's name. The author isn't actually that person. That's just, she hasn't decided on her photograph yet. And I can relate to that because it would take me forever to. And we have a blurb about her, her book. So everything you would expect to see on a book is on that book. So it's very, very professional looking. Yeah. Pardon? The 1%er is the 1% of women who are raped who get a conviction. It's, yeah, they're quite shocking statistics. Yeah. So it's a very personal book that she's written. It was very interesting for me to learn about what she's been writing to help her with her, her editing process and her design process. She gave a speech not so long ago, and we got 100 pre-orders for her. And that worked really, really well. And I think if you're brave enough to take your book out there and speak to people, that face-to-face interaction is a really great way of getting sales. So why I do what I do, they're my boys. They're my life. They're my first, second, and third. And when my marriage ended and we started to have the kids 50-50, I was left with a lot of space, but I still needed that lifestyle business. They're only 11 and 8. They still need me, or at least I think they do. I still need them anyway. So I do that, but also I really wanted something for myself. I freelanced for a lot of years, and you know, you fly about and you do this and you do that, and you're doing it for other people. At the end of the day, you've got nothing to really show for yourself. And I really, really wanted to build something that I could say I had done. And I started from scratch. I have no investment, no nothing. All I have is my ability to talk to a lot of people and to do the job that I say I'm going to do. Yeah. It's funny that Pushpa's just been talking about fear and overcoming that and mindset. I don't know if anyone's heard of this book. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. I bought that when I went to university. I went to 28. I didn't go at 18. I was the first person in my family to get a degree. I was told, why are you doing that? That's a stupid thing to do. You don't need to go to university. But I had it in my heart that I wanted to get a degree. And in the university library, I found this book. And it really has guided me through. Feel the fear and do it anyway. It doesn't matter how scary something is. If you really want to do it, go ahead and do it. What's the worst that could happen? So that's kind of guided me through the past year. Like, I really don't have a clue about business. I really don't know what I'm doing, and I am learning on the job, absolutely learning on the job. I have the skill set to be a publisher, but to be a business owner is something completely different for me. But I put myself out there and I go for it. So this is what I've learned in the last year, and they're not really things that you might not always see in books and at talks like this. But really and truly, I have learned that if I do not listen to my gut instinct, then I get into a lot of trouble. I really do. And I have just done exactly that. I have listened and I have saved myself a lot of money, a lot of time. So that worked really, really well for me. But it is really a matter of going, right, okay, and trusting that thought, that feeling is really guiding you and letting you know what you've got to do. To know and understand my audience was another big one for me, because when I first started, I just wanted to do everything. I wanted to be everything for everybody. So I was doing fiction, and I did erotica. Oh my goodness, I didn't like it, but I did it, and I should have said no to that one. And people kept saying to me, what's your niche? What is it you want to do? Who do you want to do this for? And everything, whatever you want, I will do it, okay? So 11, 12 months later, I've narrowed that right down. Now I do non-fiction, I do inspirational work, I do perfect books that people want to keep forever and ever. That is my niche now. So following on from that, recognizing the need to pivot and to understand and to be aware that, you know what, I've done all this wrong, I've made all these mistakes, and I really need to change course. So I've done that. And I've met the people that can carry me forward, and I have made a new business plan. And I know exactly what I'm doing and where I'm going now. And also to have faith in my skills and my abilities. I don't know if it's just a female thing or if it's just a me thing, I don't know. But we have a very bad habit of comparing ourselves to other people, and they're doing so much better, or they're doing this, or they're doing that. But really and truly, I've been working in publishing for 25 years. I know this job inside and out. I know what to do. I know how to create books. I know how to help people write great books. That is where that faith in my abilities came in and was very, very important to me. So just a little bit about writing as a craft, as a work of art. You see coffee table books, and they're just, so that is something, that's what I mean by that. It isn't just, what do they call it, pulp fiction. It isn't something that you buy for a $5 and you read and you throw away. Writing is really getting your thoughts out onto paper. It's crafting your stories, whether that story is your memoir, whether that story is complete fiction, whether that is non-fiction for your business, or whether you're writing a leadership book like Pushpa is that is going to help and inspire lots and lots of people. You are creating a work of art. And I wanted to give you all these journals. I know that you've been taking notes, and that's absolutely awesome, but also go home and start writing. You don't have to write to publish. You don't have to write to show anybody else anything, but you can get your ideas and your thoughts out of your head and onto the page, and then just see what happens. So that's everything from me for today. Thank you so much for listening. If there's any questions, I would love to answer them. I think we're going to be kicking about for a bit, so you can always come afterwards and have a chat, or if you have a question now, that's great. Have we got time for that?
Yes,
Yeah.
So if you've got any questions, also Sharon has put a card in the book. So if you've got any questions, and she rightfully said that, to start the healing process, because majority of the people in this world today are hurting from past events. And whether you're going to publish a book or not, is to start journaling. Do a self-reflection, and even if it's half a day of what are the major events that have happened in my life, good and bad, just so that it's out of your neural system. See, our thoughts, we go through 60,000 thoughts a day. Can you imagine what scrambled egg sort of thing is happening in here? So the more you can release that's not serving you, it's going to benefit you. And Sharon is an inspiration. She had a choice of just sticking to a job and looking after her two children, but she chose to follow her dream and her idea in her heart and start a publishing company. And that takes a lot of guts and skills, right? Because she knew that it's not going to show the income straight away. It's going to, it's going to ask for persistence, perseverance, but in her heart, she's living her passion and her purpose.
And I love it. I absolutely love what I do. I have, my desk's in the corner in my living room, and I get up every morning and I go to work down the stairs. It's a great commute, and I absolutely love it. I really, really do. It's the best thing for me to be doing.
Yeah. It seems you like to do the writing and the editing, and I'm surprised you also try and do the marketing. I'm wondering how you do that.
The marketing, throughout my career, I always wanted to be a teacher, in all honesty. I wanted to be a teacher. But every time I got to the point where I could have taught, publishing pulled me back some way or somehow. And I also fell into marketing and communications, so I have that experience too. So when you say that you have a finished product, you have your book, you would start with your social medias. Okay, you would start blogging, you would start going to do talks at local libraries. It's kind of grassroots marketing for authors. Start at the bottom. You could pay a PR agent thousands upon thousands of dollars to get you into the weekend newspaper or something, but really and truly, it's getting in at the bottom and getting in touch with people who are going to read your books. That's how you will do it. Like I said with my author, she spoke at an International Women's Day. She read a little bit from a book and she gave a bit of a speech, and people were just like, oh my God, you're amazing. Where do I get your book? It happened that easily. So that's where that marketing comes from. I did actually get in touch with a PR agent. It was $10,000 for 2 media appearances and for one press release. So there's a lot of money for not a lot in return. So if you start back at the very beginning, you start building your following slowly, before you know it, you don't need to pay a PR agent because you have already created that PR yourself. Does that make sense?
Somebody is reading a book and doing all that grassroots stuff, and is there on the Facebook every day. Yeah, here's my book. You must have for Mother's Day, you must have for Easter. We barely need one. Oh my God, stop.
It's good if you're a great self-promoter.
Well, she actually sold the first 350 very quickly.
Yeah.
350. So she then had to do another print.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing.
Okay, let's go with this.
Does she sell on Amazon and Ingram Sparks?
And all that stuff.
Yeah. It'll go. It does take time. Don't ever think it's going to be a quick thing. Yeah. But more people listen to books now. Yeah. Because I can't. I'm really old school and I like to hold a book in my hand, but a lot of my friends will listen, especially if they're in the car, and they're driving to Brisbane or whatever, and they will listen to the book. So it's definitely the way to go. Yeah. Yes.
Question. With regard to marketing of the book, can you use influencers on social media? Is that something that is worthwhile doing?
You can, if you know somebody that will do it for you for free, then that's a great way of doing it. Otherwise, an influencer will charge you a lot of money. They're not cheap. Yeah. Book talk. A lot of people are a bit nervous of using TikTok, but Book Talk is part of TikTok. and that's a really great way to go. If you're comfortable creating reels and little movies and putting it on Book Talk, that's a really, really great way of getting your information out there and your book out there. You just have to make sure that the reel is perfect. Now, I don't really deal with things like that. I would outsource that. You're a social media expert. You might have something else to add to that. But I know that books have taken off on Book Talk. Really taken off, yeah.
I do like to get more paid. And I would, if you work with influencers, go micro, you're more likely to do it for free and just in exchange for the book. Then 5,000 probably under.
Which seems like a lot, really, but it is,
And they have higher engagement usually.
Yeah. But I really, really, truly believe face-to-face speaking and reading excerpts of your book when you're first starting is the way to go. And then people will take pictures of you and they'll put it on their social media and they'll share that with theirs, and on it goes. It grows arms and legs. Yeah. Yes. She is 62 now, and she's just finished writing, so I would say 60. Yeah. The youngest writer I work with, probably about 50. You know, I'm not saying that young people don't write books, because obviously they do, but a lot of times people come to me because they've had this burning in them for so long and they haven't known what to do. I provide a very personal service. There are a lot of publishers that do what I do, and you give them a call, you'll never meet your editor and you'll never meet your designer, you know, whereas I make sure that you do, so it becomes a very comfortable, collaborative process. Yeah. Pardon? How do I pick them? Well, as I said, up until about 11 months ago, I was doing everything and everything for everybody. But now I am concentrating on inspirational non-fiction. And that doesn't mean you have to write a book that inspires people to go out and change the world. You know, it could be something as simple as a fashion book, or it could be a leadership book, or it could be the book that Kath wrote, you know, which inspires people to take action. That's where my niche is now. That's what I want to do. I want to write and help people write books that are important, are insignificant. Yeah.
Not that fiction isn't, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
So we don't have it in the middle outside, so if you've got any more questions for Sharon,
Yes. I'm going to swap you back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.